Hello, brothers and sisters, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to A Guardian Talks, episode 18. So, it's the 1st of December for me now. Um, well, actually, for me, it's not long, going to go into the 2nd of December. Um, but I am just about still on the 1st of November, and for many of you who watch this, if you watch it on the same within several hours of me releasing it, it will be the 1st of December for you. So a new month. We had Red October, Green November, and December I shall call Ascension Window December. So I was in a Ascension group chat yesterday, led by Rick Dewars, and the main topic of discussion was the upcoming this upcoming month in terms of the energies and the potential for an Ascension event. And there was some discussion backwards and forwards on exactly what that means, and there were some questions referencing it. So I'm going to talk about that first of all today. At least the way I perceive it is, it is there are, I think there was 3 or 4 particular dates given within this month as to when significant shifts could occur and in potentially a total ascension uh, event occurrence that shifts not just a few people slightly, but the entire globe completely. So, a few points that I'd like to discuss on that. So, not everybody needs to be in alignment with or resonating at a high frequency in order for this to occur. There only has to be a certain number of individuals, guardians, masters, whatever you want to call them, whatever you want to call us. I like to think of it as energy nodes of extra high frequency tuning forks, if you will, which once there are a certain quantity of resonating at a certain frequency, it then brings all other beings and areas, as in the space around you, up to a frequency once all synchronized. It pulls the rest up. So you could just be a good person, generally a decent person, just doing the best to try and get by from day to day, with no malice or bad intent, and just doing your best, really, maintaining a fairly average frequency. And they will be brought into harmonization for the ascension very rapidly. When a being reaches a high level of vibration, then they can cancel out the negative vibration of a million. And that's negative vibration. So those who might not necessarily be in a negative place, vibrating in a negative frequency, they could just be at a middling average frequency that's not high, but not negative, you know, just tipped over into the positive. They'll get sucked up straight away. They'll harmonize very rapidly. But those who are vibrating in negative frequency will just be cancelled out once a sufficient quantity of energy nodes is reached, and they are vibrating at a set frequency in synchronization with the rest, wherever they may be, whatever they may be doing at the time. So the way I like to perceive it, the way I put it across to people when I talk to them about it is that rather than ascension date or time specifically, um, whether these, rather than thinking of these as guaranteed event moments, see them as windows of opportunity. That's how I perceive them. They are windows of opportunity. They are windows of time where the stars have aligned, if you will, where there is an optimal alignment of people, places, things, events, culminating and synchronizing to crescendo points of waves, if you will, which we can choose to ride, which give us the greatest opportunity to ride and to take that through to an ultimate step forward to launch into a full ascension and, of course, incept GPMS and what that means. Humanity standing within its sovereignty. So for those who might not be aware, we've been existing in a fourth dimensional reality since 2012. Those who existed in that time were transplanted to a frequency version of Earth that did not undergo the disastrous events of 2012 as depicted in the movie of the same name. That occurred, but we were not left there to witness it. We were transplanted and moved across. And so we are essentially moving from fourth dimensional existence into a five-dimensional existence. The symptoms will occur that were discussed yesterday by location, but by location and maybe even things like levitation, flight, that sort of thing, will first predominantly come through in dream form, the astral projection, astral bilocation, before it comes to the what we perceive as the physical form doing the same. So really, in order to take advantage of, in order to mm, to engage with these windows and ensure that we have the best opportunity to actually initiate a full ascension process, if an ascension event that brings ourselves as individual beings as well as the earth itself into the frequency of five-dimensional existence. Really, all we have to do is what we've already been doing, maintaining the highest frequency we can maintain, doing the inner work, achieving harmony within oneself, hieros gamos, in terms of the masculine and the feminine. And for those brothers and sisters who might not be aware, Brother Lee Mudway, has a channel where he has placed vast amounts of information in regards to this, the magnetic, the electric, magnetic feminine, electric masculine, and how these are coming together and how they should be viewed and operated with, worked with, engaged with within the self first and foremost, and then of course with all those things which seemingly occur outside of ourselves and that we interact with other beings, happenings, and to place it within the context of that vortex, toroidal fields, uh, the expansion, contraction, what that means and how that is significant magnetically, electrically, and how those two should work together harmonically. That's it, really. That's the sum of what we can, should, could be doing in order to potentially ensure that these windows are ones which actually trigger what it is we are moving towards in its entirety and what we've all been looking for, all been working towards. Um, but even if it doesn't trigger um, a mass ascension event, the ascension event, I suppose you could say, the big one, that's okay. It's this there will be a rise in frequency. There will be a stepping up in dimensional alignment, and it will be noticeable. It will be noticeable out in the world, in the happenings around, in the events that occur. It will be noticeable within the self for those who know how to look for it and who do actively look for it. Um, it will be a significant step forward either way, and it could be the big step forward if the stars align fully in that direction. I mean, I mentioned in the last video, for example, I have a friend, a brother coming over here to see Reap, and we have the intention to establish first a guest house, just as a means to maintain here, but over time, we want it to become. I certainly want it to become a place where it's not just for stopover guests, but it becomes a place of a residency, a community of beings who understand their and know their value as beings, understand and value what what they are as creators, as producers, as gods walking upon the face of the living earth, guardians, masters, and who are able to see and respect that in other beings that they exist with, and with that being the foundational understanding, that being the foundational ethos and energy to then work together, interact together in equal exchange and equal um, give and take of energy, which will accelerate the whole completely. So within that community, and of course, by definition and by de facto, the rest of the world and everyone and everything in it. So that's the intent. That's the intention. We want it to be a place of a center of learning, a center of growth, a center of action, insofar as anybody wants to take any action or feels compelled or just want to do something for doing something's sake. Um, doesn't really matter. But that being the intention, as I said in the last video, you know, it might not be necessary. It might be made redundant by a mass ascension event, and then we exist in a completely different world, and then all of a sudden options that which were never even conceivable before suddenly become available. We just, I don't know. We don't know. Um, I know the opportunity for that ascension is occurring, and I am more than prepared for it. But in the time being, we have set a course. I have set a course, and I shall just follow that course, doing no harm, attempting to maximize my frequency, attempting to maximize the frequency of all those around me who come into my experience, come into my awareness, and are willing to stand and interact with me on my terms with that level of respect and understanding and knowing of each other's values as beings equally. Great. And I will continue to do that. Brother Christian, who's coming over, he will continue to do that. We will continue to do that, knowing full well that that in and of itself will lend itself to the energy and the harmony that is required to take advantage of such an ascension window. So it all feeds into everything, you know? When you don't know what to do, just do what gives you the greatest sense of vibrational frequency in the thinking of doing it. If just by thinking about something, you feel a rise in your frequency by thinking about doing something, you've already taken several steps towards it. Cool. Then make the physical steps towards it. Take the actionable steps towards it then to fulfill that or to move in that direction. What and in doing so, you arise your frequency just by doing what you feel drawn to do, which lends itself to the energy that's going to take us all into GPMS and that world of five-dimensional existence. Anyway, so at the moment, people have said, we're in a waiting period. Yeah, we are. And you can wait. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting. So, yeah, you could do that. You can wait in any kind of way you want. Go find a tree, sit under it, wait. No problem, no issue, no judgment. As long as you're maintaining that frequency and raising it, great. You're doing your part, and no critic can call it anything other than good. Um, I thought I could do that, and I probably could, but it doesn't appeal to me as it once did. I would like to do things. I have notions and ideas and intuitions and instincts which are guiding me to move in a particular direction and do certain things, but also at every moment understanding that at any point they could become redundant, fully accepting of that 100%. But I'm not going to allow that to the potential redundancy of the actions I take now to deter me and stop me from taking those actions now. No, I'll take those actions. I'll do those things. And if they get made redundant, great. Because if they've been made redundant, then they've been made redundant for the best reason ever. So why would I be upset or disappointed or feel any sort of lack of expectation being met? It's fine. That's great. That's brilliant. But I'm not going to rely on it. So I'm going to move forward as I believe, as I intuit any man or woman should do with their day to day, moment to moment lives. Move towards that which, in thought alone, raises your frequency, raises your vibration just in thinking of it. Move towards it in the doing of it and the action of it until such time as it is made redundant. And then see what your options are then. you know, see what your choices are at that moment and reassess from there going forward. But right now, we're not at that moment. So I am where I am right now. I am that which I am. I being I can only be I. I where I am can only be where I am for now. For now, that might change. Bilocation might become a thing instantly at one of these Ascension windows. Wouldn't that be great? I'm not sure exactly where I bilocate to first. That's an interesting one to think about. But anyway, so a key point in this as well, by the way, is, and it's something that I have been doing more and more and more and more recently, and it was mentioned yesterday, was by Rick, was to speak your truth, your highest truth from your heart always, regardless of what it might seemingly cost you in the moment. I had an example of this the other day, actually, where the the bar I'm currently crashing at, my friend's bar, and just doing working at in the evenings. as a form of exchange for allowing me to crash here. Um, we get all sorts of tourists coming in, and the other day there was an American couple, and we started off having a conversation. The conversation was good, but then the conversation turned to politics and the world as a whole. And I just spoke my truth, and I just spoke the truth of the world as I saw it, my highest truth, my opinions on things. And they were a very liberal couple, and Tom, the friend who owns this bar, basically came in towards the end of the conversation, and he was like, he'd realized that this couple wasn't going to buy any more drinks. They were going to go after that drink that they had in front of them, and he came up to me and he basically was like, I know this X, Y, and Z, and I'm on board with you, man, and I think what you're saying is true as well, and but a lot of the Americans that come in here are liberals, and they don't think that way. And if you talk about those sorts of things, then you've just got to sort of go with them, and otherwise they won't stay for more drinks. And he said all this right in front of this couple. That was really what cannonballed everything. I was like, quite in the moment, I was sort of grinning and taken aback. I was like, wow, they might not have stayed for another drink, but they definitely not staying for another drink now. um, but I turned around to him and I said, brother, I can't lie. I can't lie. I have to speak my truth. And he immediately sort of stopped what he was doing, turned to me, and he was like, there was a moment of, oh, because I think in that moment he remembered a time not so long ago when I said to him, when I was staying at the other place I was and I couldn't stay there anymore. Um, and I'd said to him in the discussion about that was, where I was staying, they contrived this thing out of nothing as an excuse to ask me to leave, to kick me out. I had done absolutely nothing wrong, but they just didn't really want me to be there. So they contrived something out of nothing. It was very weird. It was a very strange situation, and it was completely unnecessary. All they had to do was turn around and go, "Can you leave, please? I'm stressed, and you being here is adding to that stress." And I would have said, "Fine, brilliant, no problem, no worries, no judgment, no ill will, no malice whatsoever." It was, and they didn't have to contrive and something out of nothing and thin air in order to ask me to leave. It was, and I said to him in that conversation, I knew I was living on the good grace and goodwill of the woman who ran that place. I knew I was on borrowed time, essentially, and I did everything in my power to be as unobtrusive and um, as delicate as I could be, I suppose. But at any time, she could have said, "No, it's too much. It's stressing me that you're here. Can you go?" And I would have been fine. And I said to him, she could have asked me to do anything, and I would not have minded. The only thing I won't do is anything that breaks my honor, integrity, and virtue. As long as they don't ask me to lie, they don't ask me to cheat, they don't ask me to steal, they don't ask me to, as long as I'm not put upon to do anything that will break my integrity, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, you know, it goes back to the understanding of respect and value. And I respected and valued the fact that I was being allowed to stay there on good grace and goodwill. And so I was happy to exchange that. as long as the understanding came from that side of my value and my position and the respect for that. Asking me to break my integrity is definitely not there. And they didn't do that. They just sort of broke their own integrity by creating something out of nothing. But in that moment at the bar the other night, Tom asked me to lie in order to keep people at a bar to drink more drinks. And when I said, I can't lie, brother, that's asking me to break my integrity, the thing I hold highest above all things, he immediately sort of snapped out of where he was. He'd been drinking a bit. And he immediately snapped out and he suddenly realized what he'd said to me. I could see it in his face, and he immediately threw out his arms and he said, "Oh, I know, man," and came and give me a hug. So, it's I could have just gone along with it in that moment and gone, okay, yeah, no problem. In future, I will. Or I could have said, I'll omit, rather than lying outright. I just won't speak the truth I know to be truth, but I won't lie, which is a kind of halfway house, but it's still a lesser. It's still a lesser. Still would have been accepting a lesser in order to appease and ameliorate a need for the few dollars of a couple of drinks. So, but I didn't do that. I just said I can't lie and stood in that. And it immediately, he didn't, he could have blown up in my face. He could have said, right, well, then I don't want you working here. I don't want you staying here. And then I could have been right in the shit. I could have been literally out on the street then with no more options left. So, but it didn't. It didn't. It actually brought him to his senses and created the situation of understanding and realization. And that's what we have to be doing as individuals: stand in our truth, speak the truth as you know it. Now, as it was mentioned in the discussion yesterday, your truth might not be the truth. It might just be your truth in that moment to the best of your knowing. And information could come along or something could happen further down the line that shows that truth is not the truth. It was only either a lesser truth to a bigger one, or it was just completely wrong altogether. And we have to be open to that. We have to be willing um, to know that at some point in the future it will become appropriate to move away from that truth which you're holding in that moment. But as you hold that truth in that moment and know it to be your truth, you must stand upon it. You must stand by it, with it. Because to do anything less would be to be accepting a lesser thing, and therefore will automatically, by de facto, lower your frequency. Standing in your truth and standing upon your truth, by de facto, in the essence of that, in and of itself, will maintain a frequency suitable for being a node of frequency that will assist others and allow us to potentially take maximum advantage of these ascension windows which are occurring moving forward. Yeah. So, in conclusion, I think it's safe to say that this is going to be an incredibly intense, highly primed, highly charged month. There is potential for all sorts of things to occur on the old timeline, on the lower timeline, as well as the higher timeline. Events, distractions, but, well, for the lower timelines, black swan events, distractions, obfuscations, retardants, things that will hold back and continue the old ways of thinking and doing things. But on the higher timeline, for those of us on the higher timeline, massive opportunities for growth, expansion, and at some point the big plunge into the big ascension point, into five-dimensional Earth, all to play for, all to play for this month, brothers and sisters. So, you know, do as you have been, do more or less as required to maintain that highest frequency. Just on a day-to-day basis, ask yourself, am I maintaining my highest frequency? Am I doing enough or am I doing too much? Because it could be either. Or am I just right, exactly as I am? Perfect. Keep going in that direction, one foot in front of the other, without expectation, full of anticipation, and aligned with all of those things which will contribute to and lend itself and support the maintenance and the increase of the frequency required. That's it. That's it. And if that means just sitting and waiting, literally just sitting and waiting, go for it. If that means doing something that makes you feel good, makes you feel excited, allows you to just be you, a hobby, a project, anything. If that's what maintains and grows increases the frequency to maximize the opportunity for this ascension window, do that. Brilliant. We're all in this together, brothers and sisters. And we're each and all of us doing all we can. I hope and I trust that, and I open this to, by the way, to those listening who are maybe thinking about making a big move or doing something vastly different, and I feel that they are free to do so. Consider myself and my brother Christian and what we are intending to set up here and build in terms of community. Our doors are always open to brothers and sisters and guardians of GPMS, of Cabby, and of any other brother and sister that is aligned with the values of both of those, and who know their value as individuals and will honor and respect that same value equally in others, and use and stand upon that as the basis for all future interaction with those in the community. And let's build a community together. Let's build somewhere where we can do things in the meantime, and then springboard from once the ascension occurs and the world and a whole potentially new reality, galaxy, universe is opened up to us in five-dimensional form, fifth-dimensional form. I anticipate it. I look forward to it. And I can't wait to see all my brothers and sisters there in that time. And I can't wait to see if some of my brothers and sisters come here in the meantime, in the time being until that time. So once again, if you've watched up until this point, thank you very much. As always, love, light, and gratitude. We've got it. We're nearly there, brothers and sisters. Watch this space. The next Guardian talk could be from a fifth dimensional place.